Hey guys, this is Techo Freak here, and welcome to episode 11 of my Let's CS custom story creation tutorial for Amnesia. And episode 11, man, we reached the double digits after 10, and we're going up. I've uploaded a lot this week, and I hope you guys who have been following me for a while now are enjoying the videos, and I hope to continue them and see how far I can get. Well, yeah, today we're going to be doing, it's going to be a bit all over the place today, actually. For one, I already got some things here in the episode 11 HPS file that, as usual, you can find the maps and templates in here, in the download link in the description. You can find the download for the whole custom story, and that includes these templates. And I don't know what you would call them, but further instructions if you want to find them. For episode 11, it's there already, so you guys can follow along with that. I mean, I am going to use this a little bit more than I usually do today. Than I usually do. Yeah, today we're going to be reviewing some more things about enemies that you can do. Things I didn't review last time. So we are going to review a lot more commands, but I'm not actually going to outrun them. I am going to use one or two. I think just one. And other than that, we're going to talk about something more important, which is checkpoints, which is something I really want to get through and show you guys how to do before you guys actually start making your own maps, and then realizing that you need checkpoints. So I'm going to show you guys that today. That's going to be the main thing, and I'm going to just review some of this stuff that you can do with the enemies. It is a lot of stuff to do, and I probably won't find a good scenario to use them in our example. So I will just review and talk about them and tell you guys which code you probably will be using, which ones you wouldn't, and maybe ones that we'll be using sometime later in the future. So yeah, in the episode 11, that HPS file, there's all the commands for the enemies that I have in here. I'm just going to briefly talk about them, and we are going to use one of them. And then after that, we're going to talk about checkpoints, which is a bit more important. So let me get to explaining some things. So the first command I have here, these are the rest of the enemy commands that I have not reviewed yet. There are the other ones that I have reviewed in the previous episodes. So if you guys want to see those, you can probably just open up the episode 10 and 9 HPS files and find them there. But these are the ones that we haven't talked about yet, and the ones that we should probably get to talking about. So the first one is set NPC awake. It requires 3 parameters. One is enemy name, which is the name of the enemy. The next one is a true or false. Usually true or false are called Boolean variables, and those are just true or false. And the first one, I wrote these down here if you guys also want to see these. This first Boolean value, the second parameter out of the 3, determines whether you want the NPC to be awake or not. So basically, you're saying this statement, and you're saying if it's true that it's going to happen, or false if it's not going to happen. So yes, the NPC is going to be awake, or no, the NPC is not going to be awake. So that's what the second parameter is. The final parameter here is whether you want there to be an effect when the NPC when this is run. I'm not sure what the effect is. I haven't used this command, and it's used very little in the actual thing. There are probably some scenarios that you would use it, but there's always other ways of doing things, especially when it comes to Amnesia. There's many ways to do things, and it's pretty much just the way that benefits you, or the way that you find it the best to do. This I'm probably never going to use, and if you guys want to see how to use it, you can go ahead and look at the NGScripts website and search up other tutorials, but this is not necessary right now. We probably won't be using it. So let's move on to the next one, which is set NPC follow player. This is a really interesting one, actually. I myself haven't used it, but I'll explain to you how you would use it and some good uses for it. So this set NPC follow player will basically make an enemy follow well, an enemy's head follow the player, so his head will always be looking in the direction of the player, which is really good if you absolutely want the player to be caught by the enemy and you don't want the player to hide and run away. Of course, you can use, for example, the one that we used in the last in episode 9, which is reveal the position of the player to the enemy. This one will just make their head look in the direction of the player, so it won't actually make them charge towards the player. All it'll do is if they're like patrolling or something. If you set up patrol nodes and they're patrolling, their heads will always be looking in the direction of the player. So this is a really good way to get the player caught and have him freak out and have the player have to run around and avoid him. So this is a really good way without having the enemy just charge straight at him. Really good way to do it. And then the Boolean variable over here is true or false. So if you do want the player to the NPC to follow the player's movements with his head, then you say true. False would be if you don't want him to do that. So yes if you want him to, no if you don't want him to. Typically you would use false when you want to disable this after you've already activated it. So yeah, that's about it. Again, there's more information. I probably explained more than I wrote here for you guys. Alright, next one is set enemy disabled. This will basically disable the enemy from the map, which means this will not allow you to use the enemy again in any other part of your script. So if you disable him, you won't be able to call anything to him again, use anything like that. It could be useful in some scenarios, maybe with timers. If maybe you want like if there's a timer that's gonna that respawns him every like 20 seconds or every minute or something, and it just runs throughout the whole map. If at some point you disable him, then that timer can keep running in the background, but there will be nothing for the enemy to the enemy will be disabled, so it won't be able to spawn that enemy. So it could be useful, not used very often. I believe it could be used. This is an example when the player gets killed by the enemy. I think the game automatically disables that enemy. You can use this one to bring the enemy back. So you do set enemy disabled false, and obviously this is the enemy's name, and you do this false and you can bring him back into the map at any point. So yeah, after the player is killed by the enemy, I believe the enemy is disabled after the player reloads back at his checkpoint. And this can be used to bring him back. I myself haven't used it before, but I did read that some people did do this method here. Other people just create a brand new map and then have the player load into that map to reload into the same map again, the same map with a different name, and then everything's reset. So yeah, this is it varies. So you probably might not use it. You might. It's pretty much whether you want to use it or not, but it's not absolutely necessary. And there's many other ways to find to go around this. So just a good line of code to show you guys. This is the one that we're actually going to be using today. This one will despawn the enemy. So you know how we can set it active and make it appear on the map? We can and then when we can do the same thing and just say set entity active, like over here. We can do set entity active again and then set this to false, and this will basically just make the enemy pretty much disappear in thin air. No effect, no nothing. It just disappears. Over here, if we use fade to smoke, then the enemy will disappear into smoke and pretty much despawn, and an effect will be played afterwards too. So like a sound will be played afterwards. So it's a lot better than just making them despawn by setting them inactive when you change this to false. So I am going to use this one today and show you guys how to use this that line right there. So just remember that this is the name of the enemy, and the true or false here just means whether you want a sound to be played after the enemy disappears. So we usually set that true because we do want the player to know that the enemy did disappear. So yeah, we're gonna use that one. Next is set enemy disabled triggers. This line of code here requires two parameters. The first one is obviously the enemy name, and the second one is whether you want if you want the enemy to be disabled, the triggers to be disabled for the enemy. So you set true. So you set, actually let me explain what it does before that. This command basically makes the enemy completely ignore the player. So the enemy will completely ignore the player, walk around, even if the player runs across him, hits him with anything, the enemy will not react. The enemy will just, if it's patrolling, it will just keep patrolling, or if it's standing in place, it will just keep standing in place. So yeah, very helpful command to use. And the two parameters, his name, and true is whether you want the triggers to be disabled. So yes, if you want, true is if you want him to ignore the player, and false if you want him to not ignore the player and actually go after him. Once again, you would use false after you've used this command. That's typically when you would use it. If you did enable this to be true, then you can just change it to false to disable that and make sure that the enemy acknowledges the player. So yeah, that's how you would use it. Pretty good one to use actually, but not many scenarios that you will find yourself using this one. I have used this one before to basically I freeze the player and then make the enemy walk across his face just to let the player know that he's on the floor, or he's around, walking around. But then again, I don't want the enemy to charge at him after I freeze the player, so I would disable him and make sure that he doesn't attack the player. So few times to use this, but it does come in handy every now and then. It does help to make some cool animations later in the game, later in developing. And the final one is clear enemy patrol nodes. So we reviewed patrol nodes in the last episode, and I should have shown you guys this in the last episode, but I did forget. And this is just something I have to briefly mention. You probably won't be using this, at least when the way I code, I don't use it. You can clear all the patrol nodes that's set for that enemy. So let's say you have an enemy, and let me just open up the level letter just to give you guys a little bit of example. So let's say I do have an enemy here. He's set to do all these patrol nodes over here. So he's going to follow all these patrol nodes, go up here, go up to the cabinet or whatever. And at some point I want him to despawn. And let's say I don't want to create a new enemy and use him. I can just use this very same enemy, and when I do respawn him, before I respawn him, I clear all his patrol nodes and then set new ones for him. So you can just reuse the same enemy and give him new patrol nodes heading like this direction or something. It is helpful, but I myself just put another enemy when I want an enemy to like patrol a different area. I will just create a new enemy and give him patrol nodes, because if the grunt does kill the player, he will be deactivated, so this could affect the map later. So I just find it easier and a bit safer to just create another enemy and then give him new patrol nodes, and he will just be deactivated and he won't do anything. So yeah, that's what would happen in that case. Not essentially necessary, but could be if you are the one that wants to keep reusing the same enemy and not change the name of your enemy too often in your code. It is very helpful to use this. Again, it's up to you guys. I myself don't really like to use it, but maybe at some point it will. Just a nice piece of code to show you guys. Again, replace this with the enemy name, and that's all you need for that one. Alright, so we cleared all of this stuff. I talked briefly about all this stuff and its uses, and maybe you guys can find uses for it. I'm going to just use the fade enemy to smoke, because that's about the main one I'd probably be using from that one. And I will be using it in this episode when we test. Yeah, so now that we're done with that, we should get to making the checkpoints. This is going to be a bit more of a talk. Checkpoints are not very complicated, but they require a bit more parameters than all the other ones that we've worked with up to now. So before we start working with the checkpoints, we need a place for the player to respawn. We want, when he dies, we need a place for him to respawn, and we can create a new point on the map to make him respawn. We're gonna need the same kind that we use over here to make the player spawn in. We name that one spawn. We basically need another one of these. We could use the same one that he spawns in the start, but I myself like to create another one, so I'm just going to create another one somewhere else that's not in the beginning. I could just easily use the same one that we had in the beginning. That'd be perfectly fine too. So let's go ahead and create another one. We can go to areas, and then we just need a player start area. So that's all we need. And I don't know, where would be a good place to spawn him? Maybe over here by the window. Maybe just standing here looking at the window. Remember, the blue line is the one that points in the direction you want him to look. So let's make sure he's looking in the right direction. Let's put it a bit up the ground. Actually, I think it's a bit too much. Yeah, it's a bit too much. There, and let's rotate him. Okay, and he's going to be looking at the window when he spawns in. He's just going to be looking straight over there. And let's rename this. I'm going to name this checkpoint 1. Never know if you're going to use more, so I'll just name it 1. And if I do make a second one, I do 2. You could get more accurate names if you want, like original room checkpoint or something like that. I myself just going to use checkpoint 1, and that will work fine for me. Yeah, so now that we've created the area, that's all we pretty much need to create the checkpoint. So I'm going to go ahead and just save up the level letter, and I'm going to close it now. And now we're going to go ahead and get to working on making the checkpoint. So the first line of code we need is this whole long one with all these parameters over here. Again, it's in the episode 11, the HPS file. I'm going to go ahead and just copy that and bring it over to our room 01. So now this is up to you guys when you want to create it. Actually, I'm going to pull up the level editor again. Since this is our first checkpoint, you guys got to initialize this checkpoint. At some point, you want to tell you want to tell the game that you want to create a checkpoint at a certain point throughout the thing. You can do it at the very beginning of the game by doing it on start. On start is literally on the start of the map that the player is in. The first time that's loading, run all these functions. So we could put our checkpoint right here, so that the moment that the player starts off in the game, there's already going to be a checkpoint, and that checkpoint is going to be the one over here, which you're going to set in a little bit. So we could do that, but I do want to show you guys where else you can put the checkpoints. Yeah, you can put it here, but when you want to make a second checkpoint, that second checkpoint is going to overwrite the previous one. So remember, the checkpoints override each other. When you create a new checkpoint, when you run this line of code again, the previous checkpoint will be removed, and the new checkpoint will be the one that the new one that you created. So this one's going to be run on start, so there'll be a checkpoint immediately as the player comes in. I myself don't like to do that, and don't like to create the checkpoint immediately after the player spawns into the map. So what I like doing is at the point that the player is at risk of dying, right before that's when I usually make a checkpoint. So the player is not at risk at all of dying inside of this room. Of course, it's safe to maybe put the checkpoint before that, but as of right now, the player is not at all in danger of killing himself in this room. He's in danger the moment that he steps into this area, and there's a possibility that he could be killed by the grunt over here when he enters the map. So I myself am going to put this checkpoint to spawn over here, just in case he dies, as soon as he enters this area. So remember our monster spawn script, it's that area right here, monster spawn area. Monster spawn area up here, and it runs this script over here, this function. And yeah, this is what's going to run. And I myself am going to create the checkpoint here, even before the ND is active, and before he gets all these patrol notes. So I'm just going to put them all before that happens, and make sure that that there's a checkpoint before anything goes down and there's anything that threatens him. Alright, so let's talk about the parameters that's required over here. The first parameter is I labeled as random name. This is the internal name of the checkpoint. This pretty much has no significance to you at all. This just basically helps the person reading it which checkpoint this is. So you can give this whatever. I'm going to name it something random just like I do there. That's usually what I do. I believe you can also leave it blank, but just to be safe, just give it a name. I'm just going to put first C, so first checkpoint, or maybe I can even do something even simpler and do like C1. Just something to give you an idea of where this stuff is, of which one this is. This is the internal name. It's not a big deal. That can be given whenever. It can even be left blank, I believe. But just give it something. It's always safe than sorry. So next is going to be the player start area name. That's the second parameter here. The player start area. That's basically the area where you want him to spawn after he is dead. So we already created that one right here, and we named it checkpoint 1. This is where we want him to spawn. So we're going to go ahead and name this checkpoint 1. Oh, missed the P. Checkpoint and then 1. And that should tell the checkpoint that we want the checkpoint to be here at that spawn area, the player spawn area, and it's going to be checkpoint 1, the name. So next is a function to call. So really cool thing about checkpoints is that when a player dies and this checkpoint is and then the checkpoint is called, we can choose a function to be called after the checkpoint is used. So like immediately after the player dies, the checkpoint is used, and then there can be a function that can be run after the player starts loading into the checkpoint. So I'm going to go back to the episode 11 at HPS, and here I already wrote down the function you want to use. Because remember, these, like I said a lot of times before, they have special parameters. So you cannot interchange this one. Let me just copy it and bring it over. You cannot interchange this one with the ones over here. Like you see, this one has as item, as entity. This one as parent, as child, all state. These parameters are different, so you can't reuse the same ones. They need to be the same one. So with a checkpoint, you need to use this specific one right here that I'm pasting in right now. You need to use these with these two special parameters here. So make sure you guys don't use the wrong ones, but this is the ones that you should be using. Yeah, so there's a function that we got to call. So let's say our function name, we probably won't be using it for anything right now. We're not going to be calling, and we don't want to call any commands or anything like that. But it's just safe to put it here. You never know if you are going to need something eventually. This would probably be a good time if you want to set the enemy active. Cause I mean, not set the enemy active, but remember what I was talking about back here. If the enemy did kill the player, the enemy is automatically disabled. So if you do plan to reuse that enemy, then you would want to set this to false and make sure the enemy is not disabled. I myself don't care much to what happens after the enemy kills him. If the enemy kills him, then sure, the player doesn't have to deal with the enemy anymore, so I'm not going to make it a big deal. And I'm just going to leave this blank for the meantime. I'll leave it like this too. I'll just leave any commands you want to run, but I do have to change names here, so I'm going to name this maybe after death 1. So this is after he dies, and I'm going to just change this here, give it whatever name you want. I'm going to call it after death 1. So basically after the player dies, if he will be respawned at this checkpoint, and there will be a function that would be run. That one is called after death 1, and after death 1 says that all this will happen after it's called. Of course, we don't have anything, so nothing's going to happen in here, but it's nice just to have it, just in case you do find a reason to use it. There's no reason not to have it here. It's nice just in case. I believe you might be able to leave this one blank. If you do not want a function to run, you could probably leave it blank, or you could just give it some random name. It won't be found and nothing will happen. At least that's what I believe, but it's always safe just to keep it in there. You never know if you're going to use it, so just leave it there. I am myself going to leave it there. So now this next parameter is death hints. This is the category in the extra English.lang file that basically has the information for what hint is displayed after the player dies. And this one over here is the name of that death hint that you want to use, the entry that you want to use. So we're going to go over to, before I even do anything with this, we're going to go over to the extra English.lang. I'm going to show you where that one is again, just in case you guys haven't used it in a while. It's over here at the main, at the root of the your custom story. It's extra underscore English.lang. And I have it right over here. Remember that here's where we basically gave the storage room, gave a name to the storage room key, and basically gave it a description. This is also where we did the journal, and the contents of the letter that we made on the map. Message, we still haven't gotten to this yet. We probably will in the next recent episodes. But for now, we're going to talk about that. We're going to skip this for now. So we got to make a new entry in here. I was hoping to actually put the death hints in here for the template when you guys first did in the first episode. But I didn't. I forgot to do that. So I already included it in the episode 11.hps file. So you guys can go over here and go ahead and just go down to the bottom. And this is the we're going to be creating a new category for death hints. So we're going to go ahead and copy that. I'm going to go over to the English.lang and go ahead and just paste it in there. So this is basically, we just create a new category called death hints. Remember that this matches with the death hints over here. There's no reason you should be changing this. You should just leave it death hints. I think you might be able to change it for some things, such as like inventory and journal. It's absolute that you have to use that name. For like messages, you can do like message 1, message 2, message 3. I tend to split them up throughout the maps. I'm not sure if this one is forced. It might be. I know there are some that are forced by the developers that you have to use, like inventory and journal. As for this one, I'm not absolutely sure, but I would just say leave it at death hints. You probably won't have too many checkpoints in your map. Even so, you probably will reuse the same death hints, so it's not a big deal. So okay, so now we should probably get to creating a new entry. Over here we need an entry just like we do for all of these up here. We're going to create a new entry, so we're going to go over to episode 11.hps, and we're going to go ahead and just copy this entry right here, and let's go back over and paste it in here. What I like doing is just since I'm going to put text in here, I don't know how long the text is going to be, I just go ahead and copy this very same one right here, and then go down and create a new one. And then I use this one for whatever I needed to. That's what I'm going to do now. That's just a custom that I have. Of course, you guys don't need to do that. So we're going to give this one a name. We are going to use this name, so make sure you give it the correct name. I'm just going to, we can just give it like C1, or checkpoint 1. I'm trying to think of a good name for it. Maybe, usually I do it pertaining to the event. I'm not sure what this event would be. Maybe, maybe I'll just name it something random. Maybe first death, and or maybe death 1 would be nice too. That's pretty simple. Death 1, and we could, and if you guys played Amnesia and you see when you die, you see that like weird text that's like wavy and coming up on the screen and basically giving you a hint to help you out. Usually doesn't do much of a hint though. It's not much of a hint though. So you can put whatever you want. I'm gonna put something random like don't forget to hide. If he dies in this very beginning part here, he obviously didn't hide, and he ran out and decided to like pretty much shove right in the grunt. So we're just gonna do don't forget to hide, basically telling the player don't forget to hide when there's an enemy out there. So that's a really good hint to give them. Well, at least I think it is. And this, you can just leave it there. If nothing's calling it, you don't have to worry about giving it a name or anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and save up this extra English.lang file. And we're going to go over to room 01. And now we can start filling out the last two parameters here. Well, the category name we already created, and it's called Death Hints. Now we need the name of the Death Hint, the name of the entry over here in the extra English.lang, and we called it Death 1. So we're going to go ahead and come back here and rename this to Death 1. And that's pretty much all we need to do for the checkpoint. I'm going to go over here. I do want to show you guys that you can do anything over here in this function after it's run. So let's say I want to spawn a little thing to help the player after he spawns. So let's go over here and let's give him something that he can heal himself with. Okay, so yeah, it's under item. Should be right here, like potion. Yeah, here we go, potion health. So I'm gonna go ahead and put potion health up on this table here. So it's gonna be like a little treat for the player, I suppose. Maybe he'll catch it, maybe he won't. Just mainly to show you guys that this we can use this for whatever. So I'm gonna set this inactive. So I want to set it to not be active. And we're gonna name it health 1. It's not going to be active. It's only going to be set active after the player dies, and this function is run over here. So let's go ahead and use the same command that we used before for the enemy. So set entity active. After all, the health potion is an entity. So the entity name is going to be the name of the potion, which is health 1. Yeah, let me just show you guys one more time. It's health 1. And we do want to set it active, so that's going to say true. So let's save that. So yeah. So after let me just give this the whole thing. Just say it one more time. So when the player over here, come on, switch. Okay, when the player over here enters this area, there will be a checkpoint created because we, the developers, do know that developers of this custom story do know that he's going to be at risk of dying after the checkpoint is created. And the first parameter here is pretty much an internal name that you don't have to worry about, just a name that for you guys to see. The next one is the name of the checkpoint on the map, the name of the spawn area, which we have over here, which is checkpoint 1. After death 1 is the function we want to be run after the player does die and loads up the checkpoint. And in this function over here, after death 1, we will set an entity active, which is the health potion that we put over at this table. And it basically just a little bit of a helper to help the player and help him keep playing and maybe do something with it later on. So in the category Death Hints, we will display the Death 1 message after the player dies. And if you come over here, the name is Death 1. And that's the entry in the category, and that entry will display this message: don't forget to hide. And basically a hint to let the player know what to well, just to help the player out if he really needs a hint. I'm sure he doesn't, so it's just nice to include it there, and just give the player and let the player know that you were trying to help him. And that's all there is to the checkpoints. I did want to use that fade to smoke thing, but I think we are getting into a pretty long episode at this point. So I'll probably do in the next episode. I'm not going to probably show you guys anything new, probably besides the fade to smoke. In the next episode, I'm probably just gonna work on some more map making. Probably make a little hallway over here. I am gonna do fade to smoke and just touch up the map a little bit, give it a bit more of a creepy feeling. Just give it a nice little touch up and things that I didn't, because I am a bit rushing to show you guys some things. So I'll just touch it up a bit, and I'll show you guys how I'm gonna do that. We did reach everything that I did want to cover. There are some more things, some more critical things that I did want to cover, such like timers and stuff. But first, let me load up the map, and we'll talk about that all at the end. I will see you guys in our custom story in another moment. Alright guys, here we are in our custom story once again. So let's just look over here and make sure that the potion is not on the table, just like we don't want it to be. Let's go over and open our thing and get the key. Recall that we put a like the spawn area over here, the checkpoint, to spawn us looking at the window. Let's go ahead and unlock this door, open it up, and remember, when we step in that area, we're going the monster is going to spawn, and I'm going to intentionally try and get myself killed by the monster so we could see our checkpoint and everything that we did. So let's go ahead and load this let's go ahead and step in this area, have the monster come and kill us. One more time. Come on. Come on. Come on. Faster. There we go. So now we're dead. And there's our message. Don't forget to hide. That's what we put to be the message. And we're going to spawn in. We should be looking at the window when we spawn in. And there we are. We're looking at the window where we set the area to be. And if we look over here, our function ran, and now we have our potion up here on the table just like we wanted. And if the player does notice it, then he can grab it. He probably won't be relooking things again, so we probably do want to put it someplace obvious, or someplace he's going back to. Like, for example, he probably will be coming back here for some reason, and we probably want to put it somewhere here. But yeah, I just want to show you guys what you can do. You can pretty much run anything there, and it will be in the map next time. Since the monster did kill us, he should be disabled. I gotta make sure on that one, but he should be disabled, and we should not be able to call him again. At least that's what developers have it set to. Every time that you're killed, the monster will be disabled. So that's why I say it's just safer to create a new monster every time we do things. And remember, when you do reload into the checkpoint, you'll just respawn there, and everything that you did, like open the wardrobe or anything, will stay as is. Nothing will change. And yeah. So that's it for today's episode. I think it was a pretty long episode than usual, but yeah, that's about it. Most of the things that I had to cover, that I had in mind that I could do consecutively. I probably got to do some more map editing. I got to like create some new rooms so we don't keep working with the same thing. There are other things in mind that I have to cover, but I do have to touch up the map. So next episode, I probably will only teach you guys the fade to smoke thing, since we didn't get to that today, and we'll do a bit of touching up. So I'll reuse some things that we did in the previous episode, and just kind of like show you guys how you can use the things that we learned and use it to touch up the map a little bit better. We'll also be making some more rooms and stuff like that. That's probably going to be the next episode. Not much new stuff, but probably worth watching the next episode. And remember, if you guys are keeping along with the series, leave a comment in the description and make sure you tell me what you guys want to see. I know I did get recommendations for like jump scares and level doors. So I definitely want to do some things on jump scares, on level doors. Also, some other things I want to get to are timers. I want to do timers as well. Those are pretty essential. And also giving items to players and stuff like that. We have yet to put a lantern anywhere, so I'll probably do that in the next episode. Again, like I said, I'm going to try and touch up the map a little bit better and give it more of an Amnesia feeling rather than a tutorial level. So I do want to actually make this map be like an actual Amnesia map, and hopefully by the end of this project, you guys will have completely mastered how to create custom stories in this. Custom stories by watching this tutorial. So there was a lot of talking, and this video is probably going to be really long, and if it's a little long, I'm sorry for that, but thanks for watching, guys. I guess I'll see you guys in the next episode. See ya.